All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman. How are you, Brent?
I'm well, thank you.
We're back in studio. It's been a while. Been out hunting spring bear. We have a couple films out right now. Go check them out. We did a 4-part bear series that was early spring bear season, and then we have another 4-part. We've released one episode. Episode 2 will be this Sunday. Every Sunday we're dropping, and we have 3 more to go. So check those out if you haven't. They're doing really well. We're really happy with all the engagement too. Leave us a comment, like our videos, subscribe to our channel. All of that really helps us keep the content coming and the information flowing. So today's podcast is with our good friend Mark Livesay.
Mark the Llama Man Livesay.
Llama Man Mark. And Mark has been on the podcast before talking about llamas. And he lives in Missoula. He moved there from, I think it was like California or so. I don't remember. Or it was like it was some kind of eastern city. You know, he's told me, but it doesn't matter if you're basically east of Colorado. Your state doesn't count.
Doesn't exist.
No. He's very knowledgeable about llamas. Mark is one of those dudes that he can't do anything halfway. If he goes into something, it's all in. It's all or nothing.
I wonder who that sounds like, Brian.
He did all Ironman triathlons. Ironmans. He was competitor. He was at the Western Hunting Summit this last weekend. One of Ryan Lamper's presenters at the summit dropped some serious knowledge on e-scouting. Which is, find elk from your kitchen table or something like that's his thing. He talks about being back east and needing to make sure he knew where to go, having 3, 4, 5 backup plans, in case his first elk area wasn't working out. He wanted to know, based from his house, how he could find out where elk are, how he could get into that area, what his secondary, third, tertiary plans would be if he didn't get into elk, to maximize his time, because he didn't live here. He doesn't get to preseason scout on his feet, and he learned a lot. And this course is pretty phenomenal. And you can check out the course. We'll talk about it in today's podcast. But he knows when it comes to scouting digitally, he's blown everybody's mind, even people who are pretty good at it, even people who have been doing it for years. He's bringing in tools and knowledge that I've never seen before. Stuff that Google Earth can do that I had no idea it could do.
Yeah, throughout the podcast. Yeah, you go to Google Earth and you can do this, blah, blah, blah. And Brian, you can do that?
Yeah.
10 times.
So it's going to be awesome. Listen to the podcast and then do us a favor, do Mark a favor, do you a favor. Go sign up. You'll save some cash if you use the code GRITTY. You go to Treeline Pursuits and you sign up. And this is a true academy, like a true school. It's really well done. And it tracks your progress. It's a great online learning course. So high quality. Mark is an amazing guy. So I hope you do that and check it out. I think it will help everyone from new hunters to advanced. But if you're coming from back east, this is especially for you. This course will change things. So use the code GRITTY over there with Mark, over there with Treeline Pursuits. Also, use the code GRITTY for sheep feet. We started working with sheep feet a couple weeks ago, and I am stoked. They're boot inserts. They're custom orthotics, basically, and they are making a huge difference. And you can use the code GRITTY there and save on those. I can't recommend those enough. Pack rafts, use the code GRITTY2020 for alpaca rafts. Get yourself a 5-pound caribou or a 7-pound mule. Or I'm kind of looking into the narwhal lately because it's about the same as the mule if I got it self-bailing. And I feel like, some of these whitewater holes that Ryan and I have been shooting, I feel like maybe we need the whitewater version raft. I'm not sure. But it's something that we're kind of looking into and toying around with, because some of the areas we were in, Brent, you needed a serious boat. But still, we've done almost the whole thing in the caribou, which is a 5-pound raft. So check that out. Use the code GRITTY. Get yourself 10% off an alpaca raft. Everything you buy at the shop. and change your hunting game. And then also use the code GRITTY at Goat Knives. Our friend Travis Nowotny came out with a new sick product called Goat Knives, and it's got a sweet replaceable blade, titanium. It comes with Allen key, different Allen keys you can kind of set up to match your bow or your rifle scope. It's a very tactical, like multi-use deal. You get a good discount if you use the code Gritty Goat. And then it's archery season. Use the code Gritty at Valkyrie and save on their system, their broadhead delivery system. I use Black Eagle X impact arrows, throw on that sick 200 grain broadhead, and my arrow is unstoppable. So check that out. One of the reasons I like the Valkyrie system, two reasons. One, when it comes to elk hunting, mule deer, when it comes to true life hunting, there's always a little bit of brush between me and that animal. It just seems like it's there. And there's going to be two schools of thought there. There's going to be people who say never take that shot unless it's wide open. I feel like if you're in Oregon and you're doing that, you're never going to take a shot.
Yeah, you'll never get a shot then.
And furthermore, I think that most of the time, like with my arrow, with that front of center, it punches through brush, no problem, and stays on target. When I shot a lighter weight setup, or when I shot it when the weight was evenly distributed throughout the shaft and the weight wasn't front of center on the arrow, it could deflect very easily. Just hit a little bit of brush, just a tiny bit, and it would veer it off. And if I used a mechanical broadhead, that was even worse. It might open and then catch on something, click, and then go way off.
Go spinning around.
When you use a fixed blade broadhead like that Valkyrie, that's as deadly as it is and heavy as it is up front, I can punch through brush and it'll stay on target and keep the speed and be very devastating. I'm not shooting through a wall of brush. I'm just talking about a little bit of grass and things like that. And it makes a big difference.
Brent Hahn is one of those guys that's definitely like a little of a scary mad scientist.
Yeah.
Like he developed this thing. How can I make it better? I'll do this. How can I make it better? I'll do that. How can I make it better? I'm going to grease it up.
Yeah. Seriously, I've never had a broadhead that can penetrate like this and then blow through bone. It's got such a fine tip on those Jaeger broadheads, those Jaeger ones that I use.
Catches purchase.
You can have a bone like a leg bone. It just kind of, as it's going, it'll hit that leg bone just to left or right, whatever. It doesn't matter. The tip is so fine, but so tough. It'll hit and it'll just go in and then it just pop. It sounds like a gunshot. When I shot my mule deer in Montana and it went through the front side rib all the way through the body and then went out the offside leg and blew out the thickest part of the bone on the offside leg after it did a full pass through.
Looked like a bullet.
You heard it go. You heard it through the woods. Sounded like a bone shattering. I mean, it's just more almost like on a pool table when you break the balls all at once. It's like boom, and you just hear that crack. It sounded like that. It was really disturbing, and the arrow continued through the body cavity and went like another 20 yards and hit the dirt. I mean, that's the kind of power and momentum.
And you still have that same arrow.
Yeah, I do. And same broadhead. The broadhead looked like nothing had happened to it. Still shoot it. Brand new. It looked as sharp as when it went in. Same thing on bear. I hit both bones on the front leg, offside leg, blew up both of those. So that buck I shot back east, it went from hip through the entire body cavity, big sexy, and came out the front left shoulder.
I don't think you've shot an animal that had not got passed through.
With the Valkyrie? Not that I know. Oh, on that Coos deer this year.
Oh, it didn't pass through on the Coos deer?
No. It was bedded, and it was a 60-something yard shot. I had it dialed perfectly, and I had to shoot through brush. And because they're tiny, as soon as they lay down, there's brush.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured out where his vitals were, where I need to put it, and the way he was laying, it went lengthwise through his spine into the center of his back, where the shoulder, spine, and neck all come together in that one conglomerate, and it was weird. Like when you look at the broadhead, it went through like 5 inches of bone. Jeez. And then lodged itself right in the thickest part. And I mean, it was dead instantly.
My back hurts. That's terrifying.
But had I shot a different head, I don't know. I mean, Koozie are small, but this
running up with an arrow hanging out with backside.
Yeah, I mean, it just I know I can just do what I need to do with this system. So that's why I like it. But it's expensive. So use the code Gritty. I think it's Gritty 2020.
Just Gritty.
Just Gritty. I get them all confused. But use the code Gritty and you save 5%. And on a price tag like that, it really helps. All right, we're about ready to get in, but before we do that, I have one more thing I want to talk about, and these are these Leupold Optics. Leupold came out with these ballistic grade sunglasses, shades, eyewear, eye protection. Anyway, they're out there trying to come up with a hunting brand set of eyewear that competes with your Oakleys and your top end stuff, and they've done it with these new sunglasses, and they're pretty legit. Right now, if you use the code Brian2020 at Leupold, you pick your favorite T-shirt that they have, and they have a whole ton of new shirts, which are pretty cool ones. Get a new T-shirt, add it to your cart, get a pair of these sunglasses. They have multiple models, and put those in your cart. Put the code Brian2020 in there, and you get the shirt for free. So check that out. The glasses are sweet. You've seen them in some of the films if you've been watching those, and they're awesome, and that helps us out too. Again, it's Brian2020. Put your shirt in the cart, get your sunglasses. All right, we're going to jump into this podcast, but Brent brought up a question earlier that he thought I should address on the podcast. It's a good question. It came from one of our films recently where a gentleman said, okay, you shot 3 bears in 30 minutes or whatever it was. He said, how did you process all 3 of those and take care of them before they spoil or go bad?
You shot them all at last light, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you're doing everything in the dark.
So, man, it's the thing is, we each processed our own animal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't really
divide and conquer.
We didn't. Ryan has hunted solo. I've done that, and we have, processed so many animals in the field. We're pretty quick. So
did you guys take pictures with them, and then just?
Yeah, we took some photos of each of the bears pretty quickly, and then we just went to work. The way that I recommend you process an animal, first of all, is do you decide with a bear, are you keeping the coat or you're not keeping the coat? And that's been a question that we've gotten quite a bit. Do you want to keep the hide or do you get rid of it? And some people have seen that we've cut the paws off because we're holding up a front quarter or a rear quarter and the paw is attached to it, the furry paw, but everything's meat. And so people know you've cut the paws off. They're like, what? How could you do that? Well, we've got a lot of bear rugs. We've kept bears that have paws and some of these really remote hunts, when we come across a really nice hide, a really nice coat, what I've done is I've kept the bear fur, but I didn't keep the paws because they're like a couple of pounds a piece, so you can have a 5 to 10 pound, weight addition just to keep the paws in. And it takes quite a bit to skin the paws out. Now, if you're doing a rug, you don't really need the pad, so you can cut right through it and kind of skin that if you want to. It depends on what you're doing with it. Generally, though, if it's a rug or a full body mount, I'm going to take my time and I'm really going to skin it carefully. And some people ask, do we have any information on how to skin it for a rug? We actually do. In our, we put a little piece together in our Prince of Wales bear hunt. I think it's, part 2 or 3 or something, part 1. I don't know. But we did a series just a few months ago. That's really old school footage, but you do see the bear laying out where the cuts were being made. There's some diagrams on where you cut, but you can Google that too. I mean, Google is a powerful tool. Get on YouTube, look it up. Get on Google, look it up. You can find some information on how to skin out a bear for a bear rug. But what we've been doing is on some of these really remote hunts and where we have a house full of rugs already, and I already have like a couple of full body mounts. What I've done is we skin it out and we cut the paws off. And then when I get the hide tanned, I even cut the head off quite often. So it's pretty cheap to tan a rectangle. It turns into a rectangle almost. Like it's got a little, little shape of a bear, kinda. But for the most part, it's just a nice patch of fur, and I just get it tanned and throw it on the floor, throw it on the chair, throw it on the couch. I mean, it's a very useful little, comfort. It adds some color, especially if it's a gorgeous like color phase or something, or jet black even. So I'm actually preferring the functionality of a nice tanned hide without the paws and head attached. It's nice. It's nice to have around.
And especially if you're not, if you shoot like a gigantic slob, I might consider taking that out, especially because it's so remote. But
yeah,
for the most part, without the paws and the head, the fur does the exact same thing.
Well, and some people will get the hide tanned with the paws attached, and the head. And it's like, now you have these clunky claws kind of attached to a fur hanging over a banister or on a couch, but it's not a comfortable, it's not adding a lot of value to that piece. So that's kind of how we've done it. But as far as, the trick with meat, and this is with every game animal, it's get the hide off, get it off, get it off as fast as you can. Hides trap in heat big time. So as soon as we can get the hide off, that's key. We skin it back, and we do the gutless method for 90% of it. If you don't know that, you can Google it. But we basically skin from the paws. Like if I'm keeping the hide, I skin from the paws to the spine, from the feet to the spine. And I'll usually cut, we'll do a cut up the center of the chest, from the groin to the throat. And then, we'll cut up the back of the leg from across the chest and up, just like you would skin it out for a rug, if you look that up. And we peel that back to the spine, and then we pull the front quarter, the back straps, the tenderloin, all out on one side of the bear. And then we flip it over, and we do the same thing on the other side and pull that off. And we just take piece by piece. But we don't bother gutting it, cutting open the belly and pulling that out, because you don't need to. You can access everything without. And then usually what we'll do, if we want to keep the heart, and most of the time we do if we haven't shot it, and we'll go through and we'll cut through the ribs, break a couple ribs, reach in, pop the heart out. And on deer and elk, I keep the liver. I do the same thing through the rib cage. So everything can be accessed. There is no need to gut it, And usually we can do that very fast, just because we've done it so many times. And as we pull the quarter off, it goes into a game bag, and we either hang it or lay it down in a windy, cooler kind of spot in the shade. Depends on the conditions. By the time we get it all out, it's cooled a little bit. We'll throw it in our backpacks. Ryan and I tend to use big, heavy meal garbage bags, just to keep the blood off our stuff. We throw it inside our main bag, and then we take off. A lot of other guys, they like to use a meat shelf where they detach the bag from the backpack frame, put the meat against the frame, and then reattach the bag on the outside of the meat. I just feel like it's a whole bunch of extra work. Like, why bother? Why bother? The bag does the same thing. And with a heavy mill contractor's garbage bag, keeps your bag plenty clean, doesn't puncture. So that's kind of how we do it. As soon as we can, we get the meat out again. And in this case, we're very remote, so we deboned it right there that night. Took the bone out. If you are worried about like an elk quarter or something, or an animal getting too, a lot of times when there is spoilage, it's bones, it's bone rot. Like the bone, where the bone is and the meat is, it can trap in a lot of heat. So if you just cut a line and expose the bone and let it cool, sometimes that's all you need to do. You can leave the meat on the bone, just open it up, and it lets all that heat out of the bone and keeps the bone from spoiling the meat.
Really depends on what time of the year you're hunting.
Heat is your thing. Heat and moisture. Those are your enemy. So the sooner you get the hide off, the sooner you get the meat off the bone if you need to. So a lot of times it's cool enough. You don't need to worry about it. You just hang it in a tree and it'll cool with the bone in. But we kind of manage it based on how hot it is, our feeling just from experience on what to do. And it's really not tough. And then people freak out about meat. Like, you got to get it out of the backcountry. You got to get it out of the backcountry. We leave our meat hanging in a tree for 7 days.
Yeah.
Even in the spring, we had it hanging in some shade. We were a little worried. We're probably pushing the limits a little bit.
Your early spring bear hunt, you shot the first one on day 3 or 4.
Yep.
And you shot the last one on day 11.
Yes.
So that first bear's meat was just hanging in the tree for
7 days. Yeah, a week.
Before you even got back to it.
Yep, and the meat was fine.
And then it was still another 2-3 days out before you got to any kind of refrigeration?
A couple days, yeah.
Yeah, so over 10 days.
So I don't necessarily recommend that. We're experienced.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
We're experienced in that regard. But the other thing that we did on that trip that I've done a million times, and I think I'm going to go back to doing it more.
The creek?
Is the creek. Like,
Yep.
I bring heavy-duty, scentless garbage bags, contractor-grade garbage bags. They're just so useful and versatile. I hate, one of my pet peeves is thin, wispy, crappy garbage bags. I hate them.
Yeah.
With a passion. Give me a heavy-duty, thick mill, heavy-duty, black garbage bag, big old giant. And what I've done many times is used it as a refrigerator in a cold creek. So you put your quarters in the garbage bag, you knot or seal that garbage bag, duct tape it, whatever. Make sure you don't get holes in it. And I set it in the creek, and I stack rocks on top of it and whatnot, and try to keep all the water from getting inside the bag. And it's better than a refrigerator.
Yep. It's cold.
It's cold as ice, and it'll stay there forever.
Yep.
So I would prefer a little bit to let it cool and let the air
do some of it.
When you can get air to leave a crust, so the heat from the meat exposed to the cool air creates a rind on the outside of the meat. And that rind really does protect what's inside. The rest of the meat. You have to cut the rind off when you get home and throw it away, so you have some waste, which I don't like. When you put it in a bag and you put it under water, you don't have that kind of waste because you don't have that outer layer. But that outer layer also protects against bacteria getting to the meat inside. That dry, crunchy layer of meat on the outside keeps bugs from being able to get to it and access it. It's like landing on a hard rock surface. It's like turned to leather. It's a protective coating. So we do like to let it hang overnight, let it just crust a little bit as much as possible, let the oxygen dry it out, let the blood, all that drip off, get it, let nature do its thing. And then I like to throw it in a creek the next day if I know I'm going to be there for quite a long time. Now, if you don't have a garbage bag, if you can't really keep it from getting wet, it's not a great idea.
No.
Although we've left it in a creek bed for 2 full days, in an ice cold creek bed with no bags. I did it in Prince of Wales Island with black-tailed deer, and I've done it with elk in Mount Emily with Anthony. And
how'd the meat taste?
It doesn't have a real blood. There's no blood. By the time you're done, it's very bland, but it tasted good. I mean, it still was made great burger. It was really good. It definitely kind of removes some of the flavor a little bit, but not enough to be an issue. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. You want to hang it, let it really, really drip dry because it's waterlogged. And then when you go to cook it, it'll end up steaming instead of frying, because there's so much water in the meat.
Yeah.
But, Anthony and I, we did it because we were desperate. But it turned out awesome. Like the meat, you would be hard pressed to tell the difference. Texture was really different when we got home, but it was preserved like perfect. So I don't know, man. I know that's taboo and everybody freaks out, but man, if you're in the backcountry, the best to me is let it get a crust for a day or two, stick it in a heavy mill garbage bag, put it in the bottom of a creek, keep it dry, keep the meat from getting wet. You've got it'll last forever. You don't have a creek, put it in some snow. There's different things you can do. But the one thing that's universal is meat lasts a lot longer outside the refrigerator, outside of a cooler than you think it does. just in normal. Ryan's hung for 7-8 days, just hanging in a tree in springtime. It was pretty warm. I think we had an 80-degree day or so in that, and his meat turned out great. That's it. Check out this podcast with Mark Livesay. Check out treelinepursuits.com. Use the code GRIDDY and save on your eScouting Academy. And with that, we're going to jump into the show. Stay gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast, friends. Today, my guest is Mark Livesay. And Mark is, Mark, you and I go way back, I guess.
I'm a retread. I was like on one of your earlier podcasts.
Yeah, you've got that unmistakable voice.
Well, and I was going to bring this up. I'm a little dejected that you no longer use my intro anymore.
I really should pull it up. I should pull it up for this one.
Old school
for this one, I should. Yeah, you were one of those early. We did a podcast at the Backcountry Hunter and Anglers Rendezvous.
Yeah.
It was one of the first times. It's when I first met Randy Newberg. Did a podcast with him, and since then we did one on llamas, which was one of our highest downloaded podcasts, by the way.
And you forgot to turn the camera on that one.
I did, so we kind of did it twice, folks. That was brutal. I've only done that a few times. I think I'm checking the cameras now.
Right.
I'm like, hey, on?
Now I got you. Well, and you're probably like, I have a pretty long memory.
Yeah.
So I remember it.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I remember, you had been doing basically triathlons and planning events and stuff like that. Then you had just moved out.
Literally the week I met you.
Yeah. You were like, yeah, we moved here just now. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah. We actually, I mean, I don't want to inflate your ego already more than it is. Damn, I hate to even say this publicly, but I told my wife, we were a couple weeks before we were planned. I said, hey, let's get out there for this rendezvous. And I'm going to meet Brian. I said, might as well go early. I mean, what else are we going to do? So,
yeah.
I didn't move early because of you, Brian.
Your wife outed you when you got there.
I know. She was buying all your stuff. I said, quit buying stuff. We're looking like groupies.
No, it's cool because I didn't have very many groupies at the time.
Well, I met Jesse, too, and he's become a great friend. And
Well, fast forward, you're right now, you live here, right in Missoula.
Right.
Not too far from Lampers.
No.
And he was telling me that he was talking to me about your new e-scouting learning course. So you started Treeline Pursuits
right when I got out here.
Okay.
And, Brian, I just started Treeline Pursuits. It was really just a website that I wanted to write some articles. I wanted to pass along some information that 30 years, I got to do the math for sure. I always say, I think it's my 32nd year of elk hunting.
Yeah.
And, I'm 54. I've learned some things. I've probably learned more what not to do than what to do. But I just felt like it was time. I was retiring for the most part, and I still own my business, but I was really stepping back. And that's just time. I wanted to do something fun.
Yeah.
So I really started Treeline Pursuits to one is just pass along some DIY public land. I'm big. That's my thing. And share some llama. And I'm really big in processing my own meat, making my own sausages, and I had lots of recipes. Lots of people were asking me for that. And I'm really big in dehydrating my own meals. So I kind of had this platform where I could pass along some of that
How
stuff.
does your wife put up with you? Because you don't do anything halfway, Mark. You're like, I'm going to get a llama, and then you become a llama expert. You're like, I'm going to do dehydrated meals, and now you're like, you can't do it just a little bit. You got to go all in.
My wife said that ever since she met me. She said, Mark, you're either all in or you're all out. Like trap. So Brian, I'm gonna expose myself a little here on the gritty part. When I started doing triathlon, I was terrible. Couldn't swim across the pool. Literally, I met my wife. Okay, she took me to the pool. She's an ex-swimmer.
Yeah.
She says, "Let me look at your stroke." And I said, "Okay, great." I've signed up for an Ironman. Mm-hmm. My first year. Mm-hmm. Can't swim.
That's a little aggressive.
Can't swim. 2.5 miles. That's a problem. So she says, man, you got an Ironman in a couple months. Let me look at your stroke.
Yeah.
We go to a 25-yard pool. I swim halfway across the 25-yard pool, stand up, get my breath, finish the 25 yards, turn around, come back, stand up in the middle again, and then finish 50 yards. And she says to me, now, okay, when you stood up in the middle, did you have to stand up or what's the deal? I said, no, I can't make it yet. She said, what? She said, you know it's 2.5 miles. You know it's 74 times across this pool, right? I said, I'm gonna get there. And so that first year, I did adjust my goals, and I switched to a relay team. So I didn't have to do the swim.
Yeah.
And I did the bike. But then I was hooked. So anyway, my point was I went from that, and then 15 years later, I had done probably 50 half Ironmans and 11 full Ironmans, been to the World Championships. And then in 2007 at Ironman Coeur d'Alene, that's one of the reasons we moved him on. We loved it out here.
Yeah.
That was my last time I ever sat on a bike again. It was it. I retired from triathlon that day, never again, not one race since. How crazy is that? And then I switched. So I always elk hunted during that time, but I switched gears to a radical new one. So I went from training 30 hours a week to planning elk hunts 30 hours a week. And I really immersed myself in elk hunting then after 2007. And at the same time, my business was taking off and it was killing me. I was working a lot in the event business, 7 days a week. We were doing a couple hundred events a year around the country. And so it just about killed me. It really did. I had 2 strokes. I had 1 stroke during my training in Ironmans. I think it was, I had a hole in my heart I didn't know about, which is it's a miracle that I made it through all the Ironmans I did, the doctor said. So anyway, I got that all straightened out.
Kind of like David Goggins' story there a little bit.
Yeah, it was scary.
Crazy.
Scary. Then I ended up having AFib, had to have ablation surgery from it. And I think the AFib was causing my strokes, and I just didn't even know it. So anyway, I worked through all that, and my wife just said one day, she said to me, we talked about this before last week. She says, "You're finished."
Yeah, you got to.
She was the impetus.
You kind of redline everything.
Yeah,
it's going
to
catch
we're
up
done.
to you.
We sold all of our running stores. We owned running stores. She said, you got 1 year. She said, sell everything. We're heading out west, so you can do something you love for once. And I'm like, all right, you don't got to tell me twice. So I thought 3 months into it, she was joking, really. And she comes to me one day. She goes, "Hey, so where are we at with this year thing?" And I'm like, "Are you serious, really?" I mean, we've got buildings and properties and houses and family. All of our families in Missouri. And we have young kids, and they've taken them away from grandma. I mean, this is a deal. She said, "Oh, no, March 18th, we're leaving." And we left.
Yeah.
And
how'd that feel?
It was liberating. And for all the guys out there to listen to this, and how much you have to retire, and how much this, and how long are you going to work? I never want to stop working. Let's just be honest. When I like to throw around the word retired, but you and I have talked. It's in my blood. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know. It's just in my blood. So that's not going to be a deal, but it's fun to say.
Right.
But I am an all-in guy. And now I'm all in on elk hunting right now at the moment.
Well, let's get into that because
I've always been all in on elk hunting. I just took I never took off. I just reduced the amount I was doing a little bit when I was racing some.
Yeah.
Because I raced a lot in September. The Ironmans happen a lot in September and October. So let me tell you, I wish I'd have met Ryan Lampers in those days where I could have kicked his ass like he tried to kick our ass yesterday.
For those who don't know, we're at the Western Hunting Summit right now,
right.
And Ryan just took the he took the elk crew up on the mountain, and
the longest way possible, and he thought that people wouldn't pick up on it. So in my group, we're walking along, and I'm trying to not draw attention to it. You can see the other road we just walked on maybe 20 minutes ago, and they're like, "Are we kind of doing some zigzags?" And yeah, we are.
Classic, Ryan.
Yeah, it was fun. And so anyway, we're at the Western Hunting Summit. We did the hike. We camped out. We glassed up a bunch of elk.
Good grub last night.
Yeah.
Brinker played on the guitar.
Yeah.
Little get together.
Great.
So there's some great people here. We got Newberg's coming today. Yeah. We had Dan Staten with Elk Shape. You got Cody Rich from Rich Outdoors and Brian Barney here today. Dan Picard.
Dan.
Good crew here talking elk hunting and just the 40, whole Western Summit.
30, 40 dudes. I mean, from all over the country.
So
all different ability levels. It's great.
And but Ryan was telling me the other day as we were in the mountains chasing bears, we're looking and we're hunting and stuff, and I'm looking at this map and I'm looking at where we're headed, and I'm looking at the I downloaded the maps before I left, of course, with my OnX, and I'm looking at my my layer, the aerial photo layer, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that, and then I'm got my topo overlaid, and I look over at Ryan's phone. I'm like, that ain't OnX. Like, what is that? Then he shows me this other tool he's using, and it's got all this stuff on it that mine doesn't have. And I'm like,
can we not mention that tool?
I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then Ryan said, I've learned this from Mark Livesay, and have you taken his online e-scouting course yet? I'm like, no. Well, what am I missing?
He hasn't either, because I've been monitoring. I gave him a code, obviously, and I wanted to see if he secretly signs in.
Yeah.
And he hasn't yet. But he
well, apparently he seems to know quite a bit about it.
We do
or he thinks he does.
We talk about a lot, and from last year's Elk Summit. He invited me last year.
Oh, because you did the...
That's what kicked this all off, really, was being here last year. I'd already been doing YouTube stuff, and that's how Ryan kind of found out about it. And then I came here last year and did a presentation on it, and, you know, I'm humbled, but it was very popular, and he said it was just, people just loved it. And so I'm back this year, and... And so it's, you know.
Well, e-scouting, you see lots of, like I've seen Newberg, I've seen Corey, I've seen even Born and Raised. I mean, there's a lot of hunting platforms that have Eastman's Magazine that go into e-scouting. This is how you do it. This is, you know. And so my question to you today, and I've heard a little bit from Ryan, so I kind of know the answer, but the audience doesn't. What is different about yours versus everything else on the market? And, you know, well, let's just go there. What is different?
Okay.
Why should someone pay attention to your e-scouting over another?
Well, I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying, here's the deal. I'm from Missouri. I hunted out here. So I've been here 4 years. So for 7 years, I traveled across the Midwest to hunt elk. And the only way we could do it, and since I've been hunting so long, I was one of the first guys when I paid $499 or whatever it was, $399, $499, I can't remember, for Google Earth when it first came out. It's ridiculous. Think about that in the 90s.
Yeah.
People thought I was lunatic.
Yeah.
And it was revolutionary, and nobody was using it then. And there was no information.
Right.
And I'm like, there's got to be a better way than going to the library, which is what I was doing, and checking out giant stacks of USGS printed topographic maps.
Yeah.
Laying them all out.
I remember buying a National Geographic CD set.
Yeah.
Or, you know, DVD from Cabela's or Sportsman's or something. And then loading those onto my computer and seeing...
Just looking at topographic.
I'm like, whoa, this is pretty cool. And they had a 3D like sort of level so I could get down on the ground and kind of like Google Earth and actually see some of that terrain. But it was still cartoonish.
Right.
And it wasn't really representative of the area like you have with Google today.
Right.
The tools today are phenomenal.
Oh, that's kind of the problem with e-scouting, to be honest, Brian, is that there's so many tools available, but there hasn't been really an organized method or a system to utilize all the tools. So what you're asking me, kind of to back up a little before we get into that, because I think that's really important. What makes the difference is I don't look at it as e-scouting. And I know that that's what I use the term, but what it is, it's a systematic approach to finding elk. And there's a lot that goes into the system. It's not just turning on your computer, Brian. We talked about this before, you know, you and Ryan spending a lot of time together and hunting together. Why is that? It's because you guys' ability set and your package and your don't quit, they match, they mesh.
Yeah.
So a big part of elk hunting, not many people solo elk hunt. So I hunt about 50% of the time solo, but not a lot of people do. And I realize that. So you're only as good as your weakest link and your hunting partners. Well, how many hunting partners do people have that are friends or dads or whatever? And it's not like they're the same match.
Yeah.
But they've got but they love hunting with them. It's their buddies. It's their friends.
Yep.
They're willing to sacrifice maybe a little of their own hunt so that their buddy can participate with them, even though they may not be at the same level. Now, I know that's not everybody, but in every hunting party, there's going to be a strong guy and a weak guy. Just the way it is.
It is.
Now, it may be very minusculely separated or it could be a wide range. But the point is, some of the course, one of the modules is analyzing your limitations and your realities with your hunting party. So I'm a firm believer in setting up this groundwork. So before you start dropping pins on your computer, now don't get me wrong, most of the course is about finding elk. But if you set yourself up with the right strategy and your right hunt parameters is the term I use, you get the right organizational structure. You got your cluster. You've got your waypoint identification system worked out. I know these are all kind of foreign terms we can break in, but these are all these, I don't know, lack of a better word, these introductory modules of the course. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Mm-hmm. I believe that sets you up to then start opening up and a lot of people understand some of it. And I think as people go through it, there's going to be a lot of it. They're like, oh, I knew that. But then they're going to be like, I didn't think about that. Are you going to hunt with a backpack? Are you going to hunt from a base camp? Are you going to be mobile with the camp on your back like we just talked about? Those are all going to affect your e-scouting. Mm-hmm. I mean, with where you're going to go,
right,
and how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So understanding that sets you up that's a huge part of success I think.
I think especially in the realm of elk hunting. I've said this, I joke about this all the time to my buddies and friends. Elk hunting is work.
Yeah.
It's almost all work.
You said it to me like 10 times.
Yeah, it's work, dude. It's not fun. It's work. It's a grind. I haven't been on an elk hunt yet where I didn't get my butt handed to me.
Well,
it's
Ryan gets so mad when I say hunt smarter, not harder. Because he's like, I like the harder.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
we
well,
both
you do until you're 55. Yeah. We just talked about this. Now, it doesn't mean I don't like to hunt hard. There is no substitute, and I do not want to even imply that. Elk hunting is hard. And the guys that are willing to go to the limits are the guys that kill the big bulls.
But it's also on a spectrum. Like,
right.
It can be, insanely hard or just moderately hard or a little bit easier.
Yep.
Like, it's on a spectrum. But overall, when I think elk hunting, I think work.
Right.
When I think mule deer hunting, I think fun.
Yeah.
I think when I think, bear hunting, I think, miles, but I think lots of like sitting time, glassing too. And
bear hunting's on off.
Yeah.
It's you're doing for nothing, then you're crossing the canyon and you're about to kill yourself.
And it's warm in the spring and it's different. Everything kind of has a feel.
Yeah.
Goat hunting, tar hunting in New Zealand, like everything has a feel for me. When I think elk, though, I think in my mind, it's synonymous with work, hard work. And maybe that's because I grew up my whole life hunting public land, elk hunts, over-the-counter kind of stuff.
Hunts.
I have drawn a few tags that are phenomenal, and I've been able to hunt some private land access. That kind of elk hunting is not what I'm talking about. Yeah. That is easy. That is fun. That is sort of just like you just walk out and you call and they come walking up because it's like Deseret. I mean, let's just face it. That's a party. Yeah. That's a party. No one's complaining about that. I'm talking about your over-the-counter grinding public land elk hunt. That's hard.
And that's really the bottom line of this course.
But what I have found, like what you were saying, it sounds to me like one of the keys to success is, for example, I took my daughter elk hunting this last year. Finding the location, the hills we can climb, the destinations, all of that. To do that, you almost have to understand your limitations, right?
Not just yours.
But my daughter's. Right. And then go, okay, boom, plug it in this area with these conditions.
That's right.
That is conducive to a successful hunt. I'd love to march her over here, but that doesn't fit her limitations.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's one of the things.
I think a lot of guys coming out from the East could major epic fail on that because you just pick a spot and you're like, let's go there. And then you get there and you realize, okay, my limitations don't match up with my area to maximize my odds of success.
Well, I was on a podcast. I've been on a couple of Eastern guys' podcasts. I was on Publicly Challenged podcast with Lucas Oswald, and we were talking about this. He scouted this area, and then they got there, and they're like, well, this was out of bounds. I just didn't realize.
Yeah.
The terrain was way worse than they thought. It just was overwhelming.
Yeah.
So they ended up having to hunt from a base camp. No problem. But they had no waypoints, no offline maps. And so they did all this work to develop an area, which was kind of what you want to do.
Right.
But it was an unreachable area. It was unobtainable. And part of it was due to they just maybe miscalculated distance. And I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. I love that guy. I'm wearing his shirt right now. Yeah. Maybe that'll get me some apologies when he hears this. But part of it was his hunting partner was a little limitations too of what he was capable of doing. And so there were several things that contributed to a radical change in their plan. Didn't mean they still didn't have a great hunt, have a good time, but didn't kill any elk. And now they have a new remotivation. They're remotivated to look at it a little differently. So just what you said, but what was interesting, what you said, Brian, about your daughter was you did all of that kind of in your head based on experience, and you kind of know your daughter and you kind of laid it out, but you don't realize all the steps you just went through in your head. And I think that's easy.
I've also been on the ground in a bunch of these places before.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that won't work. That one could. But I didn't do it entirely from online.
Right. But you're doing it from a stance of expertise is what I'm trying to get to. And Ryan's really bad about this too, like these hikes that he plans for these trips. The first year he wanted to take them on 14 miles, 5,000 feet elevation change. I'm like, Ryan, you got people coming from Kansas.
I know. I had that conversation with them last year, and some of the workouts too. They were talking about the workouts. I'm like, maybe tone it back, bro. Like,
so the only thing that stopped us was the snow didn't melt fast. Thank God.
Yeah.
He sent Brian up to test the route, which is not the good test.
Right.
So Brian Barney goes up to test the route and comes back and says, Brian, it's doable. I mean, we're post-holing for 6 miles, but we can get up there.
Yeah.
It's waist deep.
Yeah.
But we can make it. Anyway, those two, they shouldn't be route planners for this thing anyway.
Yeah.
But
you need,
I think what you're saying and what I'm trying to say to you is, and I say this to Ryan all the time, you guys are not a good example. Mm-hmm. And because you are making judgment calls on experience that you don't even realize. You don't even realize it's going through your head like, okay, we can take this route. Yeah. This ridge, my daughter can get to here. But there's a lot of factors going on that the beginner elk hunter does not have in his toolbox yet.
Yeah.
That's going to come after a few years of elk hunting.
Yeah. But
there's a learning curve to it. And maybe you had good mentors, and Ryan talks a lot about his mentors. But there's a lot of people that are coming out from Pennsylvania where they don't have a lot of mentors elk hunting. And so there's some strategies to that. But I think even some Western guys that are pretty accomplished elk hunters a lot of times have some issues and have some failures because of similar reasons.
Yeah.
I almost think the more experience you get, the more exaggerated you look at it. You think, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that. And because you have some, so there's a little of both. But I think, and I know we
did that. We were like, okay, let's go hunt bears. We did all the e-scouting kind of stuff. And we're like, okay, this river, we'll float down this river after we kill. And we're way back there, way too far to talk about. And now we have full packs of our camping gear and some leftover food. Plus we have a full bear, meat and skulls. And it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know, we're 130-pound packs or something. And we've got 15, 20 miles of foot hiking if we can't float. So that's in nasty terrain.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So you make all these plans, right? But then the spring runoff that we had 2 days of 90-degree weather.
Yeah.
And the river that we crossed that was knee deep, in some spots was now like, the Nile with crocodiles.
Yeah.
Like it's a death trap.
Yeah.
And, some of that, I feel like there were stretches of the river that because we were looking at our maps and we could see all the whitewater and the rocks through the maps because, they can show you this kind of thing. If we had spent a little more time planning that out, we could have found a stretch of river that was long that we could have floated that was better than the one we chose. And that was a critical part of our strategy was, using our alpaca rafts and floating out.
Right.
When that strategy fails, that's a nightmare scenario of, multiple days of carrying too heavy of a load, And so we ended up floating sections and getting out and while hiking.
But that's a whole nother thing.
It took forever.
The prep process and getting back in and getting back out, reloading your pack.
It was we got faster and faster each time, which has now got me thinking of other ways to streamline that as we learn.
Yeah.
But still, I don't want to have to pull out of the water at all if I don't have to, man. It was sure nice to float 7 miles straight. I mean, that's 7 miles. I didn't have to walk at 3 miles per hour or 2.5 or something with those loads. And so I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of planning should have been done or should be done at home. I need to get better at that.
Yeah.
We were having that whole conversation when we were up there.
And that's how this started, I guess.
We got to we got to be better about this before we go out.
Yeah.
And Ryan is good. Don't get me wrong. Like he's way better than I am. You were talking about solo hunting. Last year was the first year I truly spent serious time solo hunting elk before. And, you realize when you do it by yourself where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, because you're not relying on Ryan to say, well, we want to go here, we want to go there, or this is where we're going to camp, this is where our water is going to be. Those are just little things that when you're with a team, each person carries some of the load and some of the experience or whatever. But when you're by yourself, you really flesh out the weaknesses that you have. You identify those pretty quickly, and they force you to develop your own. Yeah. My wife went bear hunting this year with her friend, and they went out 4 weekends. And I wasn't there to show them how to use the maps. I wasn't there to get them up the trails. I took them out on one trip, showed them all the stuff, got them kind of dialed and lined out. And then I'm like, you're on your own. And they learned so much because it was sink or swim. Yeah. And that they wouldn't learn if I was there. Yeah. And so there's a lot of value in that time spent, but I think there's a lot of value in learning before you even get out there.
Well, Eastern guys, let's just get back on that. So we talked about this. So the first part of the course is more of a coming to realization of all the limitations, the realities, the odds, kind of just coming to grips with what you're getting ready to do. Yeah. And, but again, so then after that, guys that you got 7-10 days, you're going to hunt elk on average, most guys, you just don't want to waste it. Mm-mm. I mean, I don't. And, so I wanted to develop a system after a few years of failure that I could start developing that could help me get into elk quicker. Killing the elk is not really that hard. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but if you're in elk every day, and I'm not saying that you're going to be in elk every day with this course. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you can get into elk, the killing part is going to not be as difficult, be that difficult. But most people struggle with the finding of the elk. And I guess I didn't realize how many people struggle with it as much as until I started diving into this and people started messaging me. I mean, just guys have been a couple of years out seeing an elk.
Yeah.
And they're still motivated, but they can't get it done.
I remember those days, man. I remember.
I'm like, oh man, I have had those, but it's been a long time, and it kind of, so I had to do some soul searching. When I did this after hunting for 30 years, I had to really almost mine my brain, kind of speak, to think through carefully all the things I kind of do subliminally or unconsciously when I kind of look at finding hunting areas or analyzing states or whatever. So I guess this is a long-winded. What separates it is I feel that my system is a complete process from beginning to end, not just how to look at a fire. Yeah. You'll see, and I love what Randy Newberg has done with some of his stuff. He's one of the only one that's really, there's a few guys you mentioned, but he's probably the one that I've learned kind of the most, a few things from, but he'll put out a fire one, how to analyze fire. He's really great with late season. I don't even know if I'm even going to tackle late season elk hunting in my course because he does such a good job with some of his stuff. Yeah. And he's right on. Everything that I believe he endorses, concretes, whatever you want to say. So, but what I wanted was more of a complete system where we could go from beginning to end, from developing your limitations to actually finding elk, to actually using the technology. We haven't got into that. And using all of the technology tools available, not one, don't be one dimensional. I think it's a real mistake. And then to eventually, the ultimate is doing a written master hunt plan that is the culmination of all of your e-scouting work that is in written form. Obviously, you've got all your points with you in the field, but those points start to run. After a while, you don't need, what's this red dot mean? What's this red dot mean? Right. But if you write down a day-by-day systematic approach, what I do is I have objectives for every day. I have objectives for morning, noon, and night for every day. That doesn't mean, Brian, that I pull that sheet out and I'm walking down the trail with it in my hand. It's a guideline. And I don't plan 7 days. So if I'm going to be on a 7-day hunt, I'll do 4 or 5 days of planning because I know that the other days will get filled in with if I start finding elk or you don't really need to plan 7 full days. Yeah. You're going to ad lib when you get out there and you're going to figure things out. But if you have these backups and you have these strategies, but most importantly, it's not just your hunt plan. It's hunt areas. And that's a big focus of this course. Don't, like on that bear hunt, you're investing, you're going, you can't have multiple hunt areas. If you're going to have multiple hunt areas, you got to hike your ass over there to them. Yeah. But I'm talking about guys that are going in 4 or 5. You got to have plans to go other places. If you go in there and there's no elk, you got to leave.
Yeah.
Don't ruin your hunt. That's probably the best tip I'm going to tell people. Don't invest in a spot. Invest in it, but be ready to go.
It's so funny because I have found, okay, we were talking earlier about, you show up to a spot and you know that, okay, based on where it's at, where do you think the elk are, where you're camped, where the wind might be blowing that's keeping you from moving to a certain spot, like you know that you got to get up at 3 a.m.
Right.
in order to be in position to see the elk pass through a meadow to see where they're headed to a timber thicket, right? But if you get up and you leave at 3:30 a.m., you're going to get there after they're gone.
30 minutes late.
And you're going to be like, there's no elk here.
There's no elk.
And so logistically planning those moments so that you're there at the right spot at the right time, I see a lot of guys really fail on that plan. And so it's the same thing at night. I'll see guys like leave a spot.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to
Prime time issues.
Yeah, you have to be there when the elk are there if you want to find them. And too often, people are really cavalier about that. And I think they miss valuable opportunities that are teaching them things.
Well, there's so much to talk about here, but let's just dive in that little segment you just said on it. Let's use a glassing spot for an example. I develop all glassing spots at home. All. That doesn't mean I won't try to figure one out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't look at 3D in the field. You can't tilt the view in the field. You're going to have to make an assumption like, is that ridge open enough that I'm going to be able to see if I get out there? I'm going to have to make the assumption that I can go out there. And guys have lots of experience looking at area photos, like the area photo layer. You can see it looks open enough that I'm going to be able to see from there.
Right.
But that's not a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost a guarantee if you use Google Earth.
True. Very
if
true.
You tilt
Look at all the ground you can cover
and
from
you can
Google
do a 360
Earth.
turn, and you can set your settings right. So in Google Earth, there's a thing in the preferences where you can set exaggeration settings. I go through this whole thing about this. You set that to 1.5 or 2, it exaggerates the terrain, makes it look steeper than it is. So then when you're looking at that glassing spot, you're going to be able to rotate 360 and you're going to see everything you can see from that spot. So then you mark that spot. Okay. Well, that's not good enough because now you've got all your camp. I'm a big about pre-locating camps before you go. I think the worst thing you can do is say, I'll find a camp on the way. Google Earth is so powerful to find water, the flatness of it, how your camp relates to the other waypoints you have on your screen, putting the wind. You can make thermal predictions. You may not know prevailing winds every second of the day.
Yep.
We just find out there's a new app.
Yeah.
That you and I both looked at each other at the same time when Brian said it. I'm like, it tells you when where you're at. I don't know about that yet.
I'm going to have to see this app because half the time I don't have Wi-Fi where I'm at.
Exactly.
So it's not going to work.
So my point is on glassing spots. So not only go into the detail of planning all my glassing spots, but how far are they from camp? Because you can't do this in the field either. Not with all apps. Now with some of the apps you can.
Yeah.
But you can't do a route to a glassing spot and then look at the elevation profile. Okay? You can with some. But in Google Earth you can. So if you trace that route and picking the best route based on the terrain, based on the openings, so you don't get cliffed out, all the things, plan the route ahead of time. Okay. For lots of reasons. We're covering a lot of things at once here, but so the route goes up there. Now you know how far the route is and you know it's 1,500 feet to get there. Well, at 1,500 feet, you can do about 1.5 miles an hour. The average guy can, if you're going uphill that much, 2 miles to 3 miles an hour, if it's not crazy.
Yeah.
If you plan that, you're going to get there at the right time. But if you have no idea and you just got your waypoint and you're trying to go cross country in the dark, it's going to be difficult. Can it be done? Absolutely. But you said one other thing I want to mention. At night, so many guys are at camp before the sun sets because they're nervous. They're not good navigating off trail. But if you have your routes planned and you know you can get to the route and watch your phone basically, and you know you're confident because you've researched in Google Earth, you know you're not going to have a problem. You've got your river crossings. You've got everything worked out. You can stay to the last light, and that is going to up your odds right there.
I'm telling you, like, I've always stayed till last light because I'm a never say die kind of guy.
But that's not the majority.
But I don't always kill though. Yeah. With Ryan, we seem to. So we are king of night hikes, So I have found that it is last light that a lot of our best and most successful moments have occurred. And most people are packing up and heading out.
They want to reach the trail at least.
Yes.
How many guys do you know, Brian, that are off trail? Let's say you've done the right thing and you've gone off trail. You're at a meadow that's a mile from the trail.
Yeah.
When I say trail, I mean a USGS kind of a
like a heavy,
something. Once you get on, you feel I can get to camp.
Yeah, like a horse trail or something.
Yeah.
Game trail.
They feel like they got to put their feet on that trail before dark.
You don't.
But calm down.
Yeah.
Plan your route. You can even do your route planning in the field. I like to do it some in advance, but you can't plan everything.
Right.
You see elk. You're like, I'm staying until the last light. Set down right then. Get your phone out. Plan your route right then. Don't wait till it gets dark and you're stressed out and you're worried. Do it in the afternoon. Say, okay, I'm staying until dark here.
Yeah.
Plan your route back out. Store it. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Stay till dark. Follow that route to the trail.
Yeah.
Don't try to use navigation. Don't try to use a compass bearing. You're going to run into issues. You're going to get into ditches and things that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Buckbrush, creek bottoms, all the things that you could route around if you take a few minutes to figure it out.
This hunt we did recently, we were up on the top of a knob and we're sitting there in the field and we're going, okay, what happens if we glass a bear there? Okay, what if we see one here? We have a nice 360 view. Okay, there, here. Okay, there's cliffs, there's mountain, there's a swamp, there's a river, there's all these things. So we already know in our head.
But experience.
Yeah,
doing it.
True. But we have like, okay, if we do this one, we're going to have to grab our boats.
Right.
And there's no point in even going after the animal unless we have an hour and a half. But with an hour and a half, it'll take us this long to get here and then cross the river and ditch the boats, run up the hill, 30 minutes to shoot. Okay, we could do that.
Yeah.
And we're doing this all day long as we sit here imagining, well, what if we spot one here, and here?
But what you just said is not said very often. How many times have you really ever heard that?
Well, I guess not very often.
Really, because that's the kind of what I'm trying to get to is some of these high level, next level hunters. And I guess now
take that for granted.
Ryan, I guess that includes you, because he doesn't hunt with anybody that's not. You just don't realize what you're taking for granted.
No,
you're setting up there, processing this information. But what we're trying to do with the course here is we're trying to help people get over that learning curve.
Yeah.
So this is where I mentioned before, it was kind of subtle, but I mentioned before I had to really think through what process do I go through, even the things I don't realize I'm doing, to get them on paper, so to speak, so that in a way that people can benefit from it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. We were making our way down and then we ran into an obstacle called a grizzly bear, which
now you
totally
very rarely can you scout those up.
Yeah, which totally completely changed everything in that moment.
It's because you're scared of bears.
And rightly so. This thing is like it put its claws around this tree and it's scratching and the claws are like 4 or 5 inches. Like they're nothing like a black bear, folks. Nothing. Anyway, you see that and we have to reroute. Well, there wasn't a lot to reroute because we were blocked by rivers and swamps. We had our land bridge figured out and the Grizz was on it. So we had to figure a different route. And it took us a long time. We got there just before it got too dark and we pulled this hunt off. But I for the most part though, we were hauling ass to be there with lots of time to spare because we had done all the math ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of planning, one of the things that Ryan and I like to do is find a spot where we don't think anybody can get to or wants to get to. Sometimes that means, like what you were saying, you get down to a point and you're like, can people see this basin?
Right.
Because you're looking at it from Google Earth and you're like,
Right.
that thing is gorgeous.
Right.
There's got to be critters in there. That thing is perfect. But there's no way to see that except from an airplane or
Right.
something. Or Google.
Right.
So how many guys have taken the time to find that basin online? Because it's the only way they're going to find it.
You can't really do it with OnX. And you can't really do it with Gaia. And you can't really, I'll just be honest with you, I know Basemap has a 3D, but there's no replacement for Google Earth for what it offers for that kind of evaluation.
And that's what Ryan is obsessed with is where's a basin or a spot that no one is going to find on the ground generally. Because to get to some of these basins that we've hit, you'd have to hike a full day through country and through canyons that look like they are not promising at all for something that you can't see or know that's there.
Yeah. Unless you look.
Unless you've looked electronically.
Yeah.
Or on feet, which, like I said, it's just no one's going to go check. And we find basins all over that way because the only way that you're going to find them is online, where a lot of guys, they come out, we see them, we run into them. They don't know where they're going to go when they hit the ground.
Yeah.
They've got to their hunting spot. They're going to hunt that area that week. Well, what do they end up finding? Spots that they can see, that they visualize, that they walk into, and then they see that spot, and then they walk to that ridge and they see that ridge. There are a lot of places you're never going to see except through Google Earth. And those are the money spots.
Well, and so one of the things you can do with Google Earth, and this is one of the things I teach in the course, is you can trace the road, any vehicle road, and set it for a tour. Okay. And play the tour like you're driving the road, not flying it. It plays on its own. And what a lot of people don't know a lot of people know you can do that, but what a lot of people don't know you can do is you can set the camera angle. So you can let's say the road's running north and you're traveling the road, but you want to look what you can see from this road to the east. You can set your camera angle from the east. So you're looking like out your window of your car and then just hit the play button and let it run down the road. And while it's playing, you can pause it, drop waypoints without interrupting the tour. And you can just see what you can see and you can kind of, so one of the things I always do, just another tip that I spend some time in the course is all my hunt areas that I develop, I will do a route up the canyon, up over the ridge, out the ridge, just kind of around the area. And then I'll play the tour. I'll just sit back in my chair and play the tour. Not flying around, not with your mouse, but I'll fly and I'll just see what I can see. And I'm like, look at this bench here. I'll make a note of that, or I'll stop real quick, drop a pin, won't label it. I don't want to get in the weeds. I'll come back to it, drop it, hit resume. Fly. Oh, wow. This looks like a burn edge over here. I'm going to come back to this. I try not during my tours, so to speak. I try not to, I'm real bad about, look at this. And all of a sudden you're over here and then you spend an hour.
Yeah.
So I'll play the whole tour and drop in random, I call them random POIs in the course. Then I'll come back and start looking at it a little closer.
Okay.
So these tours, I mean, it's a basic little function in Google Earth.
And you teach people how to do this.
It's in the course. Yeah, the Google Earth module in itself is over an hour and a half.
Wow.
What people don't understand about Google Earth, a lot of people, is probably, I don't even know if you know all of it, but every layer that's on OnX, virtually, every layer that's on Gaia, Base Map, it's all available in Google Earth. People don't even know it.
What?
All the fires in the whole United States. Not only are they available, but back to 1985. OnX only starts at year 2000.
Wow.
So those old fires, you might say, well, they're not of interest. Well, they are of interest because at 1988 fires are almost impenetrable. You need to know that.
Right.
But they're not on OnX and they're not on Gaia. So you get there and all the timber's on the ground. You're like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened.
Yeah.
So, fire layers for the whole U.S., really old. All the logging, all the motor vehicle use is available too. Most people don't even know it's available. And I mean, when I say motor vehicle use, I mean separated from vehicle and motorcycle and ATV. So you can color code them.
So I've tended to spend time on both, but I'm definitely lean on my OnX a lot.
Yeah. And I do too, because you have to, because in the field, that's your tool.
Yeah.
So what I preach a lot in the course is using all three, and I'm going to give you another example. I'm going to give you another example, but I spend a lot of time teaching people how to set their Google Earth up for success. I need
that.
The elevation settings,
I need that.
The tours, the right settings for the camera angles, how high up you want the camera to film from. Most people don't even know that's available. So I set mine, for just example, 1,200 feet up, 60-degree camera angle, flying at 600. That's the settings I like. When I set back, I like that speed, I like that height, and I like that camera angle so I can see the structure. But you can set your own. You can play around and get your own setting.
Yeah.
and set it that way. And then you set your exaggeration setting. Well, anyway, we're getting kind of, so you set these settings and then you download all of these KML files. They're called KMLs or shape files. They're called shape files or KML files. You download all these motor vehicle use, timber, even cattle allotments. They have a whole United States cattle allotments. Tells you where all the cattle are. Tells you who has the lease on it. Tells you when they're running them. It tells you what livestock they are running. Sheep, cattle.
Yeah.
It's all there. And you can, and in Google Earth, most people know this, you can do transparency. You can set it light so you can see the fire.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. But the problem is, can't take it in the field. So you got to use your apps. So I use them all at the same time. And most people see my setup I have a 4-screen setup. It's kind of ridiculous, but I want people to take away, I guess, from this podcast is the less one-dimensional you become with the technology. We ain't even got into the Elq Finding Features yet, but the better you're going to be.
Well, I remember hunting this Colorado unit. I'd sent over the counter 3rd season tag, and I hit it. And, just on a whim, we went out and we were hunting this area, and we saw a couple of really nice bulls, and it was fun. And we killed some bulls, but we did this whole thing where we looked on all our maps and we thought we kind of had it all figured out like we normally do. But you find later that, there was a road here.
Yeah.
That would have made our pack out like a mile instead of 10 miles.
People can get in there.
And that was the other thing is we thought we were in a spot where no one could get to. Oh, no, there's a whole bunch of horse hunters right here, like 3 different camps all in the same spot. So doing this scouting ahead of time, getting it all figured out, would have made our hunt so much more efficient. So much more efficient.
And I really think, Brian, if people, when they get into it, they're going to love it. If they know
that's my next thing I was going to say.
What they're doing.
Because, Mark, I got a message earlier today where a guy said, am I missing something? I keep watching your hunts with Ryan, and I see where you guys are doing your thing, but I don't see you saying what state or unit you're in.
Yeah.
I'm like, because we don't, ever.
Yeah.
I don't tell you where we hunt for many reasons. First of all, people focus on where more than how.
Yeah.
And we do mostly almost all over the counter public land. These are not coveted tags. These are not draw tags. These are over the counter public land hunts across the United States, across the West, different states. So when you do these hunts, I want people to get away from the why, the where, and focus on the how. People think, well, if I know where Mark is killing his bulls, and when I go there, then I'll kill.
That ain't gonna work.
And that's the thing I've learned too. Like with Ryan, people think we go back to the same spots. That's Ryan's spot. They're like, I understand you don't talk about it because that's Ryan's spot. It ain't Ryan's spot.
You've never even been in there, right?
We've never been in there. Almost every time we go into a spot, it's a new spot. We killed bears in completely different spots than we were last year. All new spots, all the time.
That's my thing too.
That's the fun part. I was going to get to that.
But
it's
people
like
don't because they get stuck in a rut. I talk about this too. It's so crazy. People get a spot and they had a little success.
I think Ryan is obsessed with physically viewing the entire Western United States.
Well, I'm right with him.
He wants to go into every forest he's never been in, every pocket, every part of the state. He wants to put a foot in it and wants it stored in the back of his memory and a waypoint in his map. And he doesn't ever want you to tell you where you hunt, because if he hears that's your spot, he'll never go there ever.
Yeah. If
he finds it on his own, he feels entitled to go there.
Well, I don't even want to get into it. I have a story I'll tell you about Ryan, but I'm not going to do it.
But that's the fun part. Like once I started using the maps at home more and planning, and really with Ryan kind of going, okay, what's our plan? Where are we headed to? How are we going to get in? How are we going to get out? We maybe park a truck here, park a truck there. We're going to float the whole thing, or no, we're going to do this. We're going to chopper in New Zealand. Like, how are we going to do this? And then finding that all the work you did at home is panning out when you're out there, it's been game changer. And it's fun.
Right.
It makes it more fun.
And the more you know how to do it, the more adventurous you'll become.
Right.
My Eastern guys, I'm not bashing Eastern guys because I'm an Eastern guy. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
We got stuck in a rut for a few years. We found a place we had some limited success, and we had, we just kept going back. But I never got to experience anything that new. And I made my mind up right then and there after a few years of that. I'm not doing that no more. And I've kind of been on a new place. I could probably count on one hand, Brian, in one hand in 30 years, repeat places I've been.
That's what people think when they think about myself or Ryan. Oh, especially Ryan. Oh, he has some magic spots in Washington. He's got these magic spots here, and he's got those here. And so he goes back, he finds them, and then he keeps them really secret.
No, he doesn't.
It's like it's like not. Every damn hunt we go on, it's got to be someplace we've never been before.
Yeah.
I'm like, Ryan, can't we go back? I mean, there was a lot in this basin, and you
know
they're going to be
Brian,
there.
I want to be
Brian
clear.
Barney said it today. He's like, there's no replacement for knowledge about a basin and what elk are doing when they're there, and so you know what the wind patterns tend to be during that time, and you know where they feed and where they bed, and now it's all true, but there's something about having 25 spots that you know that information on. And when that one's not producing, you go to the other one because you put in the time.
Yeah.
And half the fun is like learning
that's the thing.
The new area and figuring that out.
That's the goal.
Once you get it mastered, it's kind of like, okay, well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not anti-same. And for success percentages, like Brian was talking about in the lecture, there's a lot of value in going back to the same places. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And
if you've got a great spot, I'm not telling you not to do it. That's not even part of the course. It's like, it's more of even developing a spot that you even have currently.
Yeah.
You mentioned the road.
True.
You mentioned the road. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest modules in the course, and probably what got me, if you want to say on the map with digital scouting, the most feedback I get is the module that's titled Establishing Zones of Pressure. The process of analyzing all the open motor. I'm sickly addicted to the motor vehicle use maps, dealing with them, overlaying those onto national forest maps, and then eventually translating that to my computer model. Because I have to understand every place that you can access this area. It's ingrained in me.
When you're taking llamas in, which gives you a huge advantage.
I don't even have to know it because I've got llamas.
Right.
But it's still in my head. I want to know where these people are coming from, but I also want to know it for two reasons. One, not just that I get isolated. I want to know what I think that the elk are going to do from these access spots. You know,
They might be here like the first week of September, just piled into a spot, and there's all these roads. I know that by the second or third week, with all the pressure, they're going to be over here now.
Well, you got this spot, okay? And you got private land all back in here.
Yeah.
And you got 3 trailheads here.
Yeah.
Well, we know that this isn't oversimplified.
Right.
But they're pushing the elk into this corner. But then you notice that there's an easement over here. It's not a trailhead. You've picked it out. You're going to have to cross a river, but you're in there in a mile.
Yeah.
All these guys are coming 4 or 5 miles. So looking for these, I'm not saying secret.
No.
But I'm not saying trailheads are not good, but trailheads, dead ends, campgrounds, I really dial to those.
Yeah.
I draw a 2-mile circle around them. That doesn't mean I won't hunt them, but I want to see those circles on the map, and then I do 1 mile around every road, and I want to see what's left.
What do you do for wind? Because Brian was talking today, Brian Barney, and he was saying, there's this basin. He's talking about some previous years of experience where he's like, there's a basin. The elk are always there.
Basins are tough.
And the wind is like just going, he's, let's say, washing machining in there. Like the wind is just swirling all over and stuff. And a lot of guys push it. They go in after those elk all the time in that. And they're just going to blow out. The wind is going every which way. And so when I look at, I used to, it's just tempting, and you feel like, oh, maybe this time it's going to work, and then they all blow out. It never works.
Yeah.
You always have to. So he was talking about waiting for last light, like very last, when the thermals are hard in his face. Yeah. Now he can go charging hard at the elk, and you don't have to worry. Being
waiting
patient
for your opportunity.
But you only get, let's say it's a 5-day hunt, you get 5 nights.
Yeah.
You get five goes at that, and so it's hard because you have all these days where you're just sitting there waiting for night to come so you can go on this. And that's hard.
But there might be areas within reach. If you spend time that you could hunt mornings and middays.
That's what I was going to say.
And get back to that basin. I just had a hunt this last year I was on. We had the same thing. We went into it. So here's what I love. I love north-facing spoon basins with a wide bottom in the bottom, not a V bottom, with interspersed meadows in the bottom. Benches that are more than halfway up to 3/4 of the way up to the ridge lines with a couple finger ridges that come out. They don't have to be long, east-west finger ridges. You find those setups, those are gold.
Because that's how I hunt mule deer and elk nowadays is I spend less time just finding elk and chasing them. I want to find them in the spot that I can kill them in.
Right.
It's like a combination of things. Like it's not too hard for me to go, yeah, there's elk there, but the wind, it goes this way, and then a half hour, 20 minutes later, it goes that way. Every time I'm on the verge of killing, it gets blown up. Last year, it crushed me, man. Like every dang stalk I was on, or every time I was this close to getting it done, the wind would change on me. And I'd say with elk hunting, that is
it's
number one problem. Give me a consistent wind.
Forget it, guys.
Give me a consistent wind, I'm going to kill a bull.
Yeah.
Just give it to me.
It's rare, though.
That's why I wait for clouds to come. As soon as the clouds come and the wind, the storm or whatever's coming, it blows hard in one direction.
Yeah.
All the thermals out the window.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, great. And that's when I get aggressive, and that's when I move in. But I also have found that can I tell through your e-scouting, like what the wind's going to do in the morning, in the evening, where I should be in those kind of situations?
You can make predictions. Okay. So here's the thing. Let's say you're looking at this basin and you've identified that you really like it. You've done all the elk finding features that are in the course, whatever. You've laid it all out. You've got your camps. The other, before I say this, one of the worst problems in a basin, don't camp in the bottom. I see guys do it all the time.
Right.
I know it's easier. I know that's where the water is. I know it's convenient, but that is the worst wind situation. It's going to ruin that basin.
I think that's something that Ryan and I need to talk about a little more in our hunts. Why we're camping in the spot we're camping in.
And see, I know I keep sounding like a broken record, but
because
you've mentioned so many experience things of why you do it, but
we just take it for granted.
But you're not saying it.
I didn't put it in the video I don't put a map down that says we're here because
why?
Our like where we camped was very strategic.
Well, you need to follow your own words. You just told me you were going to be more about the why.
I'm trying to. Like the bears, we knew where they were in this basin. And we even debated, well, if we go here, we don't have to drop, 1,000 foot and climb 1,000 foot to get on the bears the next day. We could just be there. But there's that chance that our wind goes this direction. And we thought it'd still be safe, but it wasn't worth it. It's like 100%. If we're here, there's no way that we're going to get winded. So it's not worth it. It's not worth taking those risks.
You're willing to put a little more effort in to save your spot.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying about elk hunting, about setting up camp is
camps
are so important, and people, that's why I mentioned, I know I didn't spend a lot, I know we're on a podcast here, we can't really cover everything, but camp selection is one of the most important things you can do in e-scouting. And most people are like, what? They're like, we're just going to hike in. We find a nice place. We'll stop. No, I have 4 or 5 already predetermined. And if I get to one and it's not what I thought it was, I'll move to the second one. But the point is, I'm not pulling my phone out, Brian. At 9:00 at night, I'm packing in. Season opens tomorrow. I'm not pulling my phone out and saying, okay, where the hell are we going to camp now? This was right. I know I'm moving here to here to here.
Yeah.
And in those 3, it's going to work. I mean, usually, and Google Earth is so good at the zoom. You can see the rocks for the most part. You can pick your camps 90% of the time.
Well, and knowing where water is a huge deal.
Yeah, ahead of time. We were up on this ridge and this thing, and I didn't e-scout this because we were just going on the hike for one night, of course. I didn't do a water plan. I didn't try to figure out what I was going to do. I had llamas. It was one night they didn't need a drink. I mean, they barely drink anyway, but some of the guys, Brian Barney's group, I'm going to throw Brian under the bus. He goes across the creek.
Up.
He didn't even give him a chance. Didn't even tell him this is the last chance for water. So, we hiked all day. We get up there and everybody's like, okay, well, where's the water? We're like, that's 600 feet down there. Everybody they look at you like, oh, you're kidding? I'm like, no, you cross that creek?
That's your water.
So the look of despair in that crowd.
Yeah.
So literally they were going over the hill, Brian, scraping up the last remnants of the snowbank with just pine needles and just shit in. And they were bringing it back, and I was melting it for them on the stove. At the same time, I'm feeling bad because my group, we stopped and got some water, and because I let the llamas drink, so everybody filled up. But we had multiple groups, so some groups had water, some groups didn't. Brian Barney barely stops it
and
for anything.
That's always on my mind. And
do it ahead of time, though.
And Ryan is horrible about that because he doesn't tell anyone else in the group. Like, this is the last. Right. They all have water, and they all have
he
their
had
thing.
his water by his tent and didn't tell him. It was a little seat coming out of the ground. Oh, yeah, it's right over here. I'm like, Ryan.
Right.
We got 40 dudes out of water, and you got your own
He's
private
all
faucet.
about people figuring it out, though. Like, right? Like,
I think he gets off on it. I'm starting to understand that he acts like he was surprised, but I don't think he was.
When we hike, this last weekend we were hanging out together and we did a little weekend camping, hiking thing, testing some gear, and we were climbing the hill and I was bringing up the rear. There's like 5 of us. I'm like, I see some water in a creek and I'm looking at the maps and I'm going, we're only getting higher. I don't see any water anywhere on this map. And I turn to the other guys and I'm like, did all those guys that are ahead of us, did they stop and get water or did they even think about it? No one stopped to get water. So I'm filling up extra water containers that I had with me because I know.
So you're being the nice guy.
I'm being the nice guy.
Or you could sell it.
Because I know, because I know when we get up there, they're not going to have water. And sure enough, we get up there and I'm like, did you guys grab any water? They're like, no, didn't, And I think when you're figuring out a camping spot and you're figuring out water sources, that's a powerful combo. Knowing if there's still snow on the peak. Right. If you can get away with melting snow on the top, that's a powerful tool when there is.
Guys, I guess the whole point of this do you want to spend time looking for elk all day long and looking for campsites and looking for water, or do you want to spend your time trying to kill an elk?
Right.
That's when you boil this down, this prep work takes all that out of your daily tasks.
Back to some of the areas we like to go, though, like some of the areas we plan on going this year. We're going to pack water in probably August.
Yeah.
Because there is no water. None.
You need llamas.
And by getting in there and putting water in place, that would be great. We're able to access country that other people won't.
And that's where I go with my llamas a lot. I pack my own water a lot. Number one, they don't drink much. And I can carry enough for 10 days.
Jeez.
With my llamas and me. Never go to water.
Isn't Lamper saying he's getting a llama?
He says he is. Every time I show up with mine, he gets envious. And last night his daughters came to the thing, and they were all about the llamas last night. So I think it's a done deal now. But
and for those who have missed the llama discussion, you can go back and check out the llama podcast. But a lot has even changed since then. I mean, knowledge.
Well, and when I got llamas, it wasn't because of what we just said. It was mainly because, and we were going to talk about this some more, but the how blessed I am to hunt as much as I can now. Mm-hmm. I knew I couldn't do it at 50. I couldn't do it. I
know. We're sitting here, trying to do the math here. And I think what will happen is Brian will probably get some llamas to sort of, it's really, I feel like right now I can do just about any species I want outside of elk. Yeah. With my, with elk there, you start to have another level of fitness and you need to be able to be willing to spend 3 or 4 days packing meat.
That's part of, we didn't even talk about that, but in the course, one of the big limitations is it ain't just can you get yourself.
Yeah, I would say that.
Analyzing the weight.
This is where.
Doing some examples. Like you guys realize you're 7 miles back. You're a party of 3. Mm-hmm. You kill 2 bulls. It's going to be a minimum of 50 miles of packing.
Mm-hmm. That math.
No way around it.
Yeah.
I don't care how fit you are. I don't care if you take any size of camp at all, and you might cut maybe 7 or 1 trip out if you're a badass.
Yeah.
But I've learned my lesson that if you take that 130-pound first load and you've got a second load, you're in trouble.
Yeah. I found like it's better for me. I just am like, all right, it's a whole day. It's an 8-mile pack out. I sleep at the truck. I pack in 8 miles the next day. I sleep at camp. And then I pack another 8 miles back to the truck and I sleep. And then I pack an 8 miles back. And it's a 3-trip process. When I killed my bull last year.
You've got camping. You've got something to sleep.
And it's like a 3-day pack job.
Yeah.
That is unfathomable, especially for people who have I only have 6 days of vacation or 5 days of vacation. They can't imagine 3 or 4 days of it just spent packing the animal out.
And you got to come to grips with that before you start putting waypoints on the map.
That's where I'm very keen to scour my states and my maps for rivers that are floatable.
Yeah.
Because we've had such a good time with the rafts.
You're kind of making me see. I can pack. The only problem is I can't get the llamas in the raft. I could carry the rafts. I could hunt. I could navigate with them, and I could use them. But I'd eventually have to, work it out. But what I could do is hike up and kill some and raft it back.
That's what I'm saying.
To the llamas, and then finish taking it out. So there's some strategies. I've been thinking. I've been watching you guys, and I hunt in some wilderness area that has got some serious for bears as well. And I'm thinking, I got llamas. That's all great and everything, but I can't get them up in here. I could get there and I could float back to my llamas.
Yeah.
And,
I've been having a lot of fun, and I was like, well, Ryan, why not float into where we're going to hunt and float out? Yeah. Well, why hike at all? I think if we floated 30 miles or 20 miles, we'd be here, and then we kill. And then we float out, and there was no hiking at all, So we're looking at some of that, too.
Point to point. Mm-hmm. I was getting ready to ask you now.
You just park a truck here, and you park one down here, and you just float all the way through.
With somebody I don't understand that you could get the river to flow the other way.
No.
No, it's good, yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of planning and creativity that can go into getting into some great areas that people overlook. Earlier, we should wrap it up because we have another thing I got to go see, but you were talking about Gaia. Yeah. What is that? And is that...
So in the course particularly, and I don't really care what app you use. Last thing we'll talk about here. I spend a lot of time on the technology because I think that's a big part of e-scouting. And I think a lot of guys learn how to use their technology enough to get by.
Yeah.
But they don't know every in and out about it.
No.
But you know everything in and out about your bow?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I know it's a weird dichotomy is that... And I think it's just that we have...
For Ryan, if it's technical and not mechanical, if it's electronic...
But he's starting to come around a little bit.
When it comes to maps...
He pulled out the Gaia thing.
When it comes to maps, he'll nerd out. He'll figure it out, which is funny because Hillary's like, well, if you can do that, you can run a computer and a podcast.
I know, but he says no.
But he says you can't.
You know why? He sees the power.
Uh-huh.
And he understands it.
Oh, he knows if he learns how to do it, he'll have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this way.
But anyway, so... we alluded to this, but mastering your technologies are really key. And I don't mean just mastering. I mean all of the ins and outs. What are the limitations? What are the capabilities? What are the features? How to use them all? And then using multiples. So I always use OnX on every hunt, every single hunt. I like the 3 clicks so you can switch your layers real easy. I really like that. But if I'm looking at super detail and I want the USGS topographic map layer, that's what you were alluding to, I want Gaia. Yeah. Way more detailed. Not the hybrids. I don't want any of that crap.
Yep.
And it's not crap. I'm just saying it's a different view. Mm-hmm. So I literally have both offline downloads on every single hunt on both those platforms. And now I've got a lot of people that are using Basemap now. It's another one that's out that's kind of an up-and-comer. Yeah. A lot of great features there, but I can't. At this point, I'm not prepared to give a judgment on it yet because I'm evaluating it myself because I wanted to be well-rounded in this course. So I'm doing a whole Basemap evaluation right now.
Gotcha.
But Google Earth, OnX, Gaia, Basemap, that combination of those is what you're going to use in the course. You're going to use it on the web-based platforms before you go and then switch to your mobile platforms in the field. And so the course kind of does all of that, integrates all of that. And we spend a lot of time talking about optimizing your mobile device. A lot of people know airplane mode and all the basics, but there are a lot of things on your device that you can do to improve the performance, the battery life, and everything else. And then in the field, having a solid energy plan, how you're going to recharge, how you're going to use, if you got a dark energy or if you got goals, whatever, how you're going to use them and integrate them. So I've learned a lot there. And you were talking about batteries, and you've developed a way. Yeah. Well, I've done the same with e-scouting because if you're going to live and die by this, you can't be having dead phones. Yep. You can't have losing ways to charge.
Yeah, so absolutely.
I think that the point here is, in closing, is the difference is the beginning to the end. Mm-hmm. It's not a segment. It's not a timber, beetle kills. The last thing I wanted to say this. My module I'm getting ready to post is on beetle kills right now. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to use this example to show you maybe another reasoning great. So beetle kills can be a elk hunting. It's one of my favorite places to hunt elk. I'll just throw that out there. It's a little tip. My biggest bulls, They're so comfortable in there. Not beetle kill that's on the ground, though. Beetle kill that's still standing. And that's the only way to do it is in Google Earth. So here's where it gets tricky.
Ryan was doing that.
Yeah, in Google Earth, you got the image date that you can see. Very important. On XGaia, you don't know what the date is. So I was looking at a beetle kill for the presentation tomorrow, and I looked at it in Google Earth. Timber, it happened to be a 2019 photo. Google Earth started adding 2019 photos this past year. Incredible quality. I mean, I don't know what they did, but you can almost read license plates. I mean, it's so good. And I'm always excited when I find a place that has 2019.
Yeah.
So the beetle kill is on the ground. I mean, it's impenetrable.
Yeah.
So I pulled up in Gaia. It's brown, Brian. So beetle kill, when the beetles first infest the trees, it turns them brown. The beetles die. That's very early stages. That's like 15 years sometimes before it hits the ground. So it told me, and I don't mean to throw Gaia under the bus, but it told me that the Gaia aerial photo is at least 10 years old. Okay. If you only did Gaia, you might roll into that area thinking there's going to be elk here and it's all on the ground.
Right.
So then I looked at on X. It was gray. It had the purple hint. I always talk. Beetle kills are pretty easy to pick up sometimes because they got a purple haze to them in the aerial photo view because of the grayness.
Yeah.
So you can still see all the trees standing, almost nothing on the ground. So I'm like, whoa, if somebody would have only been on X or only been Gaia and never bothered to look at the
Google,
brand, you kind of might have ruined a couple of days of your hunt because it was virtually unhuntable. There's no human that could go through this stuff. I don't know if they had a wind event. It could have been, I don't know what it was, but it looked like matchsticks.
Yeah.
And the other ones were totally legit. So anyway, that's a good example of what we kind of go over in that kind of detail.
So, and you were telling me that it's really like a course,
it is on
like
a course
online
platform. It's an online platform, meaning like a university. I used a university course software, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you sign up for the course and it tracks your progress, tells you where you're at so you can stop. It's about 20 hours worth of video right now. Every module has the video, which is some of them are an hour, some of them an hour and a half, some of them 30 minutes, whatever. It's all modularized. There's 30 modules. And then there's a written version as well. What I like about the reason I took the time to do that, Brian, was so that people could do keyword searches because you can't search the video. And so now people can. He said something about shape files. Search shape file, takes you right to where you need to be. But anyway, so it'll track your progress. And what I added, which was a side benefit that I didn't even think was going to be that important, but it turns out to be amazing, was the discussion. Every module has a discussion capabilities to ask questions of me. You wouldn't believe some of the questions guys are asking. And you wouldn't believe some of the answers that other people are putting, not just me. Cool. So it's a great community. It's a community. So this guy, for example, real quick, I've been studying Caltopo. Caltopo is another program I use a whole lot, but it's not in the course very much because it's pretty complicated. And I haven't gotten to it yet, just to be honest. Well, in the Google Earth or in the zones of pressure module, I talk about analyzing motor vehicle use maps, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, this guy is a brand new elk hunter, but he's a cartographer, like a high level mapper.
Yeah.
He writes in the discussion this whole process on how to do this Caltopo that I've been trying to figure out like forever, how to take those downloadable PDF motor vehicle use maps, which are almost useless, and how to look at them digitally on the aerial photo. He talks about how to pin them by lat lawn in the corner and then make them transparent and overlay them into it's incredible. Oh. So I haven't fleshed it out yet, but my point is here we got a guy that doesn't know anything about elk hunting, but he knows a lot about mapping.
Yeah.
So he's contributing to the course.
That's cool.
And that was like a side benefit. I wasn't expecting that.
I love it.
So anyway, it's been a great.
So you launched this like a month ago.
It's been a month and a couple weeks.
And it's basically, Ryan was saying that, it's just been wildly popular.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what wildly popular, but I'm not even finished with it. So one of the things that happened was COVID, and messed up my event business. And so I had to dedicate to try to saving my employees. I had to really kind of leave it for a little while, but I wanted to launch. So I went ahead and launched. It's a 2-year membership.
Okay.
I was adamant about, I don't want a 1 year deal. I want people to be able to use it for 2 seasons before they decide if it's 1 year's hard to you get the whole grasp. You know, especially if you're a new
I kind of want to take it in, use it, and then go, okay.
And then come back.
Right. And use it some more.
So I want
because it's not until you mess around with it at home, go to the field and see how well it translates from home to field,
or
and then
what works for you,
and then what you missed,
right?
And then go back,
that's right.
And then you're like, okay, now I'm that much better at seeing what's on my computer at home, and then what it looks like on the ground in real life.
That's right.
And you start meshing these two in a more powerful way.
So,
you can't do it you need to come back to it after you've seen the ground, and then can go back to, okay, that's what the digital looked like. That's what the ground looked like. And I was missing out on this, this, and this.
Exactly right. That's why I decided to go 2 years, because I wanted people to get 2 seasons of elk hunting. So the point is, I got 5 more modules to go that I'm working on. So the 2 years doesn't start no matter when you sign up until I finish. So, it's not a bonus. Big deal, but so that's the way it works. And then, so when it comes to finding elk, the modules in the course are called Elq Finding Features. And we break down canyons, benches, and slopes. We break down, beetle kill, sparse timber. We break down meadows, how to evaluate meadows, transitional, dispersed, all the different types of meadows and what I look for. We do glassing and point identification, how to handle all that, campsites and hunt routes and travel, pack in and hunt routes. So it's just a progression of modules. And what the whole course is built on, the last thing is it's odds multipliers, Brian. There's not one thing in this course or one feature or one thing we're going to kind of try to teach you that's going to help you kill elk. What you're looking for is what I talk about all the time is cluster identification, where you can see areas that have 5 or 6 of these elk finding features, not just one, not just north slopes, but I want benches 3/4 of the way up. I want a wide bottom canyon. I want dispersed meadows in the bottom with no trail in the bottom. If I can find those combination, oh man, I like to see that. Not just because it's got a great looking north slope.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean there's not elk there. But when we're elk hunting, Brian, all we're trying to do, the odds are dismal. Let's be honest. You're 6% in Montana.
I know. Yeah.
They're dismal. So your best chance is to increase your odds, not anything else. We got to raise the bar, and you raise the bar by trying to put yourself in places where the elk want to be.
Yeah.
And the elk want to be, in my opinion, in places that have all these features. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
And so that's kind of the platform of it's not just fires, which is I love fires.
I mean, you heard Barney today.
I'm big on fires. He is too.
But he was like, get where the elk are.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's it. Like, be where the elk are.
But people are listening and watching, and it's like, well, I know you're saying that.
Yeah.
But where is that? And I'm telling you, you stack these features. He used the word features a lot.
Yeah, he did.
You stack multiple features in the same area, and you've got a really good shot of being in elk.
Yep.
If you get tunnel vision and you start looking for one feature, and you just love north slopes or you love whatever, and you don't find these others, then you're kind of putting yourself in a bad spot potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if people want to get the course, where do they go?
It's treelineacademy.net, or you can get it through treelinepursuits.com. It's got links.
Okay.
Treelineacademy.net. It's that simple. It's a dedicated page to it. It's got a whole bunch of information about the course. It's got an intro video. The course has, guys, I mean, obviously I'm charging for it. It took me 2 years to develop it, but I have a no questions asked. I won't even, it's 30-day money. You try it for 30 days. If you don't like it, you get it. I believe in it. I think it's going to be powerfully impacting to most elk hunters, and I'm willing to stand by it. So that's the end of it.
How much is it going to cost a guy?
The course is $119 now. The launch is over, but I think we're going to talk about code. Do we say that now?
We should. All
right. So Gritty.
I like that code.
Yeah. I mean, is that what you use?
It's easy.
Gritty. And I'm going to give the same as at the course here.
I remember taking one of the other courses that I remember doing years ago was Corey Jacobson's.
Yeah, I took it too.
Elk, course, and that was worth every penny.
I took it as a 27-year elk hunter, and I got some stuff out of that. Really, good stuff out of it.
Yeah.
I love what he did. And I didn't even dream of doing this course when I took that.
Right.
But I did say at the time, now his is a well-rounded all elk hunting. So he didn't focus on just e-scouting by any means.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want to go one more step further than that. And that's really what I tried to do. I didn't try to repeat anything. Obviously, some same principles apply that he talks about.
Yeah. But just the online tools that have advanced since that time.
Exactly.
Make it totally. I'm watching my kids during COVID doing homeschool.
Yeah.
And the tools they have to get through it and keep things organized and to present the information. It's so nice. I remember when I was editing film 7 years ago to now. I'm like, dude, it's not even fair. Like, the way the tools are now, the things that a guy can do that doesn't really know. I mean, we had to know some really janky, like, weird tech to try to make a film. Now it's like you add a plug-in and you can just go, I want it to do this. And it takes all the, it's like back when you had to know MS-DOS, to run a computer versus Windows.
For this course, I used a program that I had to teach myself, another program called ScreenFlow. And I don't know if you use it or not, but it films you and it films your computer and records the audio all separate. So it's nice because then I can lay, you know how.
Yeah.
So the format of the course is like you've got Google Earth.
Right.
You're seeing my screen as I'm
screenshot,
doing it.
the screen recording.
Screen video. Yeah. But I'm down in the corner on a green screen.
Yeah.
So it takes out the background. So it's just me, kind of my
torso or whatever.
Massive, upper body.
Manly.
Down in the corner. So I don't know that that's a big deal, but I think people like to have a relationship with who's teaching them. And it's small, but when I'm speaking, like lecturing, it's big. Yeah. And then it can go down to the corner. So anyway, it was cool to learn those process. It's not anything I've used before.
Yeah.
But it was very helpful for this type of application to teach people something that they haven't, especially when it comes to manipulating the computer and showing what keystrokes you're using and highlighting the mouse and being able to do a radar click.
Yeah.
So when you click on something, this radar, so it's real visible on the screen.
Yeah.
It was a very, very good tool for teaching e-scouting.
I'm excited.
You can, when you click on something, sometimes like with a little mouse, when you're trying to watch it, you can't see what they're doing. But I can set the mouse size to whatever you want. So I guess what I'm saying, the only reason it's applicable is that it's a really good learning environment for for this e-scouting.
So people can go to Treeline Pursuits.
They can go to treelinepursuits.com or treelineacademy.net. Use the code GRIDDY. But before you even use the code, take the time to go through the main page, read about it, look at the benefits, look at the features, watch the intro video, and
knowledge is power.
Send me an email.
It's
if you
powerful.
Have a question, contact me.
I look at this and it's like anything I can get that was going to teach me this. I am fortunate. I've been able to hunt with someone, different guys from Ryan to, you name it. From guides across like Cole Kramer up on Kodiak, and you sit down and you look at the tools they use and you learn how they hunt, hanging out with John Barklow, at Sitka. It's like, I've been able to learn a lot of things because someone showed me.
Yeah.
For a lot of guys, they don't have the opportunity to hunt with someone like that and then glean and be mentored by them. But this Western Hunting Summit, it helps you that way. You get mentors. And then this sort of online course, it gives you a mentor. It gives you knowledge and skill. It helps you develop skill that would be hard to come by. So it's a good time to be an elk hunter.
Like Brian, I mean, the cost of these tags. I have 6 elk tags this year.
It's mostly vacation time.
It's time. You're taking vacation. You're away from your family. You're buying super expensive hunting clothes. You got a really expensive bow, a rifle, whatever you got. But you got to find the elk.
Yeah.
And you got to investing a little bit into that. And I'm not trying to sell the course. I'm just, whether you do it on your own.
It's perfect for our audience because we have been trying to show people what we do.
With the why.
Yeah.
And the how.
Yeah. And now it's one of those things where we have a huge audience of people who want to go out and take the chance. They've seen it done now on video and they're like, you know what? I could hike that.
Yeah.
I could go there.
Yeah.
I could use the maps and figure out where I'm at. I could find my way back. I could store meat in the field for a few days and have it not go bad.
Yeah.
I can eat the meat while I'm in the field. Okay. Like I I know, and so we have this whole adventurous community that's kind of growing from all of this, and all they need is a little more tools to give them the courage. I remember getting lost a few times way back when. I remember 2 times I got really lost, and I was in my 20s. And it really makes you a little gun shy about going out in the woods when you're not sure where you're at or if you can find your way back.
Is power.
And so I always have multiple GPS options in case one fails.
Which I recommend big time in the course. A lot of guys are getting too addicted to their phones.
Yep.
And they don't carry a backup of any kind.
So I always have a backup and then I always carry a couple compasses.
Yeah. That's good.
And because one thing I do know is for the most part, I can hike in a straight line for 30 miles, 40 miles, whatever miles I need to. And I know that in any unit, pick a unit.
Yeah.
And if you walked in a straight line, how long would it be before you hit civilization? Yeah. It's doable almost everywhere. It might take you a few days, but
it's not doable if you're not going a straight line.
That's right. That's where the compass really shines. And so I have or find a river and then follow it out, things like that. Like little things where now I feel really safe in the backcountry.
But that is
comfortable.
That is the last kind of conclusion of this, is that you just said a whole strategy that you may not relay very often to people. You've learned it. You've developed it. You have it. You got your compass. You got the backup. But it's not been spoken enough to people like they don't. Because
I take it for granted. I'm telling people
that's right.
how to like the kill part.
Right.
That's the part that
it's how we got to the kill part. And you guys are doing it. But there's more, there's just more. And I tell Ryan this all the time, the knowledge in your head, you don't even realize that you're even doing what
I try not to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
I try really hard to, because I remember when I first started the podcast, there was a lot of people that will even write to me now. I really enjoyed the beginning podcast because you didn't know what the hell you were doing. So you asked all the questions that were, now I forget to ask those questions because I'm at a different spot. And so it is difficult to think what the right questions are.
Yeah.
But it's a good and a bad thing. I try to, that's where though, when I sit down with Ryan, there's so much to ask that I don't even think to ask until I observe it. And then I'm like, okay, I wouldn't have thought of that. Why? Yeah. And he takes it all for granted, And
it's easy to do when you've been doing it like this. At that
I took my wife and my daughter out, and I'm like,
but that was probably a good wake up call that you kind of started rethinking.
Like when she was talking to me about the maps, and we were going over it and where water is and how to, move and how long it'll take for her to hike from here to here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's all in my head already.
My wife's doing the same. I'm teaching her how to use Gaia and OnX for the first time, and because she hikes in and out to come see me hunting elk.
Yeah.
Not see me, to come hang out with me with my son. So this sounds bad, but I don't go out to get her. I tell her where I'm at.
Yeah.
They come in, hang out with me for a few days, and then hike out themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I'm teaching her more comfort. And,
right.
And usually we're on trails.
That's what my wife has done. Once she's learned OnX, she's on that all the time. Yeah. She's using it to figure out who her neighbors are. She's using it for her runs, and she's like, now she's going into some crazy spots because she feels really confident that she can find her way back. Before OnX, in this last few months of her going bear hunting, she would only go on trails that she felt like she could still see the road from and stuff like that. And now she's like, she's getting out there because that tool, she's familiar with it. She knows how it works. She's confident in it. It's pretty neat to see. But that's all to say that the more you learn and the more knowledge that you can bring to the table, the more confident, the more success you can have. I think all these teaching tools are just, they're kind of a no-brainer.
Well, that's great. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, you too.
Since we hung out.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see more people too. I'd like to hear what they think after they listen to this podcast, and they go out and check it out. I'd like to get some DMs or some messages on YouTube, getting some feedback from them. I'm going to develop my own opinion here as I dive into it a whole bunch. But I already know from talking to Ryan that
I'm probably a little like you though. I taught myself this program, and my first, you talked about your first videos and now where you're at now. Even in this course, I look back at I'm going to probably redo a couple of my early modules because I'm like, ooh, I learned a lot after 30 modules. I did better job of explaining, whatever. And I'm like, I got to redo it. I still think it's pretty good, but
it's same with videos I made like 4 years ago versus videos I make now. I look back on them and I cringe a little bit, but the reason I'm doing them the way I am now is from the learning from before.
Just in the 30 modules, I did think I improved.
That's a lot of modules.
Now the judgment will be out there to see what people think, but it's been a labor of love. It's one of my favorite things about elk hunting. I've called in more and took more friends elk hunting probably than I ever have killed my own elk, and I just love the art of elk hunting.
Yeah.
The killing part's great, and I love the meat, and I love providing for my family. But I love the process. I really get.
I think this is powerful to Eastern guys too, because I kind of take elk hunting for granted. Because
that's right.
I've elk hunted since I was a little kid. I elk hunted I've elk hunted my whole life. Yeah. Like they're not novel to me the way that they are to a guy back east.
Yeah.
And I've really noticed that as I've produced film and elk huntings are conspicuously absent. It's mule deer and bear, and people are like, yeah, they love it, but there's you could put out a crappy elk video and everyone will watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be garbage and people are like, they're signing up.
Yeah.
And elk is sort of that species that,
it's
and back east, especially, this would empower a lot of guys that are a little nervous about it. When I went elk hunting 2 years ago in this area with Corey Jacobson, we hit this spot. Neither of us had ever been there. We went to a little podunk restaurant in town to eat dinner. It was packed with hunters. Everyone was in camo. And we're sitting there, and there's probably, 20 guys there, 25 guys, different groups. They're all hanging out. Like, it's the only place in town. This is a podunk place in the middle of nowhere. And we start talking to everybody, and not a single one of them was from the West.
Oh, really?
Not one. Everyone was from, like,
Michigan.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of Michigan people signed up for my course. I don't know what it is. Michigan people love their elk hunting.
Oh, they love hunting in general, And so it was wild to see how many guys from back east. And a lot of them, it was their first time. And they were like, dude, I just showed up because you said just do it. And that was cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then they're just up there. A bunch of them had killed their first bulls. In fact, some of them had gotten there. I mean, I don't know why this doesn't ever happen to me, but they got there. They walk into a spot. They said, we bugled, and a bull ran and stood there, and we shot it. I'm like, what the? That never happens to me, Mark.
Well, that may be the last time it happens to them.
But that's how elk hunting can be.
Well, my wife, a real quick story, her first elk hunt, I guess she decided that when I started elk hunting 60 days a year, she said, if I'm going to see you, I'm going to at least go a little.
That's how my wife is.
She got really good with her bow. I love to see her wife doing it. She got really, really good. She wasn't sure she actually wanted to do the whole killing part, but eventually she said, I'm confident. We went to the total archery challenges, and man, she's a good shot. And we go the first day. Opening day, and I have this spot. I call it the killing field. And like I always say, I never go back to this spot, but this one spot I will revisit a couple times, every now and then. And I'm like, I'm going to take her and my son there because it's pretty. I know there's good chances. Anyway, we roll in there in the dark, set up, daylight barely breaking. Make a call, bull bugles up on the hill. I'm like, how can that be possible? And I can't see it. My son, I told him to take a stick and get in there and start raking some trees. So he's in there just beating these trees up, and this bull's going crazy. And then he stops and he's staring and he says, Dad, there's a bull coming. I'm like, I can't see. And he goes, Dad, he's running. He's in front of Mom. I'm like, well, what's she doing? I don't know. And then I heard the shot, but I didn't hear the thud. Bull runs off. We make a couple calls. Bull comes back. Eli says, he's right in front of Mom again. This time I hear a shot and a thud. I'm like, oh, I heard it hit the bull. Whack. So we go over there, and she's going to kill me. I go over there, and she's just like a mess. I mean, she's almost like incoherent.
Right.
I'm like, baby. I said, what happened? I don't know. I said, well, what happened? Well, Jake shot him. I'm like, the second time he came back, my buddy shot him, And I said, well, what happened when he came in? I don't know. I said, well, what pin did you use? I don't know. I said, did you look through your peep? I mean, did you get lined up on him? I mean, you're a good shot. I don't know. She goes, I don't even remember pulling the trigger. And
yeah.
She got so excited.
Dude, I've done that so many times.
And now she's kind of half hooked on going. Now, she's not ever going to go for 20 days, but she loves going out.
There's something about the challenge unconquered that is haunting, you know?
Now she thinks it's easy. 10 minutes in, call the bull in right there, 10 yards.
Yeah, but buck fever is a real thing.
Yeah.
And blacking out. I mean, I can remember being in those moments and it's funny, the only time I'm really going to black out, or I have blacked out, is when it really matters to me. I'm deadly when it's a doe, and I'm like, whatever, I could take her to leave this one. Whack! So it has nothing to do with ability.
Yeah.
It's all about the adrenaline.
Yeah. And
conquering that is a whole challenge in and of itself. And I finally feel like I've turned that corner over the last few years, where it's like I can keep my wits all there and kill.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful place to be, because now I can, I don't have to worry about that moment over being bigger than me, but
it's nice. It's fun to watch though. Your wife's doing it. It's really nice to see. I haven't seen it for a long time in my life. Most of my friends are pretty accomplished elk hunters, and I haven't been around a bunch of real rookies lately. And it was
my wife has a deer tag this year that she got with her friend Lacey, and they are going to bow hunt deer August, September, and they're diehard. They're going to go do it, just the two of them. And it goes back to, we were talking earlier about gals enjoying hunting with other gals, like my wife would like, we will hunt together, but there's certain amount of, there's something about that. I don't know.
Your wife seems to be like wanting to figure it out herself.
She is. She's
really,
like, if
Brian can do it, I can do it.
She's really independent.
Yeah.
Always has been. She's not your stay-at-home mom type, although she has been a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. Same with me.
But that's not her type.
Yeah.
She would rather be making millions running her own business. That's just how she is. She's very independent, which is good, because I leave for 3 weeks or 4, the whole month of September to hunt and get film. And she's just like, I come back and she's like, oh, hey, hi, honey. It's like, there's no warm reception. There's no like, we missed you. Yeah. She's like, oh, it's good to see you and stuff. I feel like they've all completely, my 3 daughters too, have adapted to me being completely absent.
Me too. That's me too.
And they love it when I'm there, but they completely functional when I'm not. I think that's really healthy, actually, for
it's empowering.
That independence is empowering, and she's going to go and do what she can. She complains because she didn't see any bears. After 6 days of hunting, she didn't see a single bear. And I'm like, that's okay.
That's not very uncommon.
The skills, and the skills you got are still the skills you got,
Yeah.
There's still a lot. But next year, I'll make sure she sees a bear. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, good seeing you again, brother.
Thanks, brother. I'm glad you were here.
Yeah.
We better go see Randy Newberg if he's still here.
Up next. I hope we didn't miss it. But.
So, all right, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.
Stay gritty.